People always said I had the perfect life. They were not wrong. My home was full of love and laughter. My husband was kind. My children were happy. My days were quiet, but full. But sometimes, when life feels too perfect, something dark can come and break it. I did not see it coming. I did not expect it. I thought my life was safe. I was wrong. I am Michelle. I have 2 children and a husband. His name is Benjamin. He is loved by many people in our town. He is on the radio in Austin, Texas. He speaks about music and weather. He makes people laugh. They say he has a good heart. And I believed that too. I loved him for many years. He was my best friend. He was my partner in everything. I met Benjamin when I was young. He smiled at me across the street one day. He asked if I wanted to have coffee. We talked for hours. He made me feel seen. We dated for 1 year. Then he asked me to marry him. I said yes. I thought we would grow old together. I never had a doubt. We bought a small house in Austin. It had 2 bedrooms and a small backyard. We had a dog named Max. We had our first child after 2 years. Then we had our second child. I stayed at home with the kids. I cooked. I cleaned. I helped them with school. Benjamin worked at the radio station. In the evening, we sat on the porch and talked. Life was not big, but it was full. Benjamin always made me feel special. He brought me flowers. He kissed my forehead when I was tired. He told me I was the best part of his day. He said, "I love coming home to you." His voice was warm. His words were soft. I believed every one of them. Last Sunday, something changed. It was a normal day. The kids were outside. I was making lunch. Benjamin walked in. He looked different. His eyes were quiet. His smile was small. I asked, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yes, just a little tired." But I could feel something was wrong. Later that night, he asked me to sit with him. The kids were in bed. The house was quiet. He looked at me. I saw fear in his eyes. He held his hands tight. I sat down next to him. I waited. "I saw someone today," he said. I asked, "Who?" He said, "Her name is Emily." I did not know who Emily was at first. Then I remembered. Benjamin told me about her long ago. She was his girlfriend before me. They broke up. She moved away. He said it was over. He said she was just the past. I never asked about her again. "She came back to Austin," he said. "She lives here now. I saw her at the coffee shop." I said nothing. I looked at the floor. "We talked," he said. "It was only for 10 minutes, but something happened inside me. My heart started to beat fast. I looked at him. I did not speak. I thought I moved on," he said. "But when I saw her, I felt something. I don't know what it means. I don't want to lie to you. I felt the air leave my chest. I could not breathe well. I never stopped thinking about her, he said. Not every day, but she was always there. I closed my eyes. I held my knees. I wanted to scream, but I was quiet. I'm not saying I want to leave, Benjamin said. I love you. I love the kids. But Emily, I never really said goodbye to her. I said, Do you want to see her again? He said, I think I need to. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. My hands were shaking. I poured water but did not drink it. I looked out the window. The sky was dark. My heart was dark too. He came to the kitchen. He said, I want to be honest with you. I don't know what I'm doing. But I had to tell you. I asked, Are you planning a life with her? He said nothing. I asked again, Benjamin, are you thinking about a life with her? He looked at me. His eyes were red. He said, I don't know. That night, we did not talk more. We slept in the same bed, but it felt like two different worlds. I turned my back to him. He did not touch me. I closed my eyes and cried quietly. The next day, I made breakfast like always. I put food on the table. The kids laughed. Benjamin smiled like nothing happened. But everything had changed. I looked at him across the table. He was still my husband, but not fully mine anymore. After he left for work, I sat on the couch. I looked at the family photo on the wall. We were smiling in the picture. But now, my smile was gone. In the evening, Benjamin came home with flowers. He gave them to me. I did not take them. I did not meet her, he said. I could not. I sat in the car. I looked at the door. But I thought of you. I thought of our life. I looked at him, and I drove away, he said. But I still think about her. I did not answer. I walked past him. I picked up toys from the floor. I cleaned the table. I did all the normal things. But inside, I was broken. That night he asked, Can we talk? I said, What more is there to say? I'm confused, he said. I'm hurt, I replied. He sat down. He said, I'm sorry. I did not want sorry. I wanted my life back, but I knew it was gone. Now every day feels long. I do not know what he is thinking. I do not know if he will meet her again. He says he loves me, but he also feels something for her. I want to be strong. I want to fight for my family, but I don't want to beg. I don't want to live with a man who loves another woman. I look at my children. They are small. They need both of us. But I also need peace. I need truth. I don't know what to do. Maybe he will stay. Maybe he will go. Or maybe he will never fully choose. And that is the hardest part. I wait each day. I listen to his voice. I watch his face. I wonder, am I still his home? I don't have an answer yet. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The next few days felt slow and heavy. I moved through them like someone underwater. I woke up, made breakfast, packed the kids' lunch, folded laundry, and cooked dinner. I did everything I always did, but something inside me had changed. My hands worked, but my heart stayed quiet. I smiled at the children, but it was not the same smile. It was smaller, weaker, tired. Benjamin acted normal. He helped with the dishes. He asked about the kids' homework. He kissed me before bed, but I could feel it. His thoughts were not all here. His eyes looked far sometimes. His voice was soft, like he was careful with every word. I could tell he was trying, but trying was not the same as truth. I stopped asking questions. I was scared of the answers, but I watched him closely. Every time he picked up his phone, I looked. Every time he said he had to go out, I listened to how he said it. I wanted to believe him, but my heart was unsure. Something between us was now broken. I did not know if we could fix it. One afternoon, Benjamin said he was going to meet an old friend for lunch. I wanted to ask who, but I didn't. He kissed me goodbye. I stood at the window and watched him drive away. I waited until his car turned the corner, then I sat down on the floor. I held my knees and closed my eyes. I felt a storm inside me. Was he going to see her? Was he lying again? He came home 3 hours later. He brought groceries. He smiled and said, "I saw Paul today. He says hello." I just nodded. I said, "That's nice." I did not know what was real. I was tired of guessing. That night, after the kids were in bed, I sat outside on the back steps. The air was cold. I pulled a sweater over my shoulders. Benjamin came out and sat next to me. We looked at the sky. The stars were clear. He said, "You've been quiet." I said, "I don't have much to say." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I haven't seen Emily again. I wanted to. I almost did. But I didn't." I looked down at my feet. "Do you still want to?" I asked. He was honest. "Yes," he said. I stood up. My voice shook. "Then you should go see her. Just stop making me live in the middle. Say what you want. Choose something." Benjamin looked up at me. His eyes were full of worry. "I don't want to hurt you," he said. I said, "You already have." I walked back inside and closed the door. My heart was loud in my chest. I stood in the kitchen and held the counter. I felt small. I felt alone, even with my husband outside the house. The next morning, I took the kids to school. On the way home, I saw Emily. I knew it was her. She stood outside a cafe holding a coffee cup. She was tall, with brown hair and a soft smile. She looked happy. She looked like she belonged. I slowed the car for just a moment. She didn't see me. I kept driving. My hands were tight on the wheel. Back at home, I sat on the sofa. I looked around the room. Everything was in its place. The photos, the books, the toys. But nothing felt safe. This was our home, but it did not feel warm anymore. I missed that feeling. I missed the days when I never had to think about who he was thinking about. When Benjamin came home that night, I looked at him closely. I said, "I saw her today." He blinked, surprised. "Did she see you?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I saw enough." He sat down. "I haven't talked to her in a few days," he said. I nodded. "I believe you," I said. "But that doesn't fix how I feel." He looked down at the floor. "What do you want me to do, Michelle?" I sat across from him. "I want you to be sure," I said. "Not today, not this minute, but soon. I can't live like this forever." He said, "I am trying." I said, "Trying is not choosing." He looked at me with tired eyes. "I know." We sat there in silence. The clock ticked on the wall. A car passed outside. Somewhere in the house, a door creaked. The night felt long. In the next few days, I wrote nothing. I called no one. I just watched. I waited. Benjamin stayed close to home. He was quiet, kind, careful. He tried to help more. He cooked dinner one night. He took the kids to the park on Saturday. He brought me tea in the evening. I knew he was trying, but deep inside, I kept thinking, is he doing this for me? Or is he trying to forget her? One night we sat on the couch. He said, "I miss how we used to be." I looked at him. "Then why did you let someone else come into your heart?" He said, "I didn't mean to." I said, "But you did." He nodded. "I know." Then he said something I wasn't ready for. "I think about a life with her. I don't want to, but it comes into my mind, and I feel guilty." I held my breath. I waited for the pain to pass. It didn't. I stood up. "I need space, Benjamin. I need time." He said, "Are you leaving?" I said, "No, but I don't know if I want to stay like this." He reached out for my hand. I didn't give it. "I love you," he said. I said, "I used to believe that without doubt. Now I don't know what I believe." I stayed quiet for a few days. I needed space, like I told him. But we lived in the same house. There was no real space. I still saw him every day. I still made food. I still helped the kids with homework. I still shared a bed with him at night, but I did not feel close. I turned away when we slept. I did not reach for his hand. He did not reach for mine. Benjamin did not meet Emily again, at least not that I knew. But the silence between us was hard. I could feel him looking at me. I could feel the weight in the air. Every moment felt full of questions. Was he thinking about her? Was he waiting for me to leave? Or was he hoping I would forgive him? One night we sat on the couch after the kids were in bed. I looked at him. He looked tired. I asked, "Do you still love her?" He did not answer right away. Then he said, "I don't know what kind of love it is, but yes, I feel something." My chest hurt. I stood up and walked to the window. I said, "That is not the answer I wanted to hear, but thank you for being honest." He walked over to me. "Michelle," he said, "I do not want to lose you. I want to fix this. I want to stay." I turned to him. "Then stop holding on to her in your heart." He said, "It's not that easy." I said, "It should be." The next morning, I packed a small bag. I told him I was taking the kids to my sister's house for the weekend. He looked sad but did not stop me. I think he knew I needed this time. He kissed the kids goodbye. He looked at me and said, "Please come back." I nodded, but I did not speak. At my sister's house, I felt lighter. The kids played with their cousins. My sister gave me tea and held my hand. I told her everything. She listened quietly. When I finished, she said, "You don't need to rush, but you do need to ask yourself something. Can you live with him knowing he still thinks of her?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "Then stay here until you do." That night, I watched my children sleep on the floor in their sleeping bags. They looked peaceful. I wondered how much they knew. Did they see the change at home? Did they hear the quiet fights? I did not want to hurt them. I did not want to break their family. But I also did not want to live a life full of pain and half-truths. Benjamin called me the next day. He asked if we were okay. I said, "The kids are okay." He was quiet. Then he said, "I miss you." I said, "I miss who you were." He said, "I can be that man again." I said, "I don't know if I believe that." On Sunday night, I drove home. The house was clean. The lights were on. He was waiting at the door. The kids ran to him and hugged him. I walked in slowly. He looked at me. He said, "Thank you for coming back." I said, "This is still my home, but I don't know what it is anymore." We sat down after the kids went to bed. He made tea for both of us. He said, "I didn't call her again." I nodded. He said, "I thought about everything. I want this life. I want you. But I know I broke your heart." I said, "You did. He said, "Can we start again?" I looked at him. I wanted to say yes, but I stayed quiet. That week we lived like two people trying to fix something broken. He helped more. He spoke kindly. He watched me like he was afraid to lose me. I was softer too, but not the same as before. Something inside me had closed. One evening, I saw a letter in the mail. It had no name on the front. I opened it. Inside was a card. Just a simple white card. The message said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come between you." There was no name, but I knew it was from her. From Emily. I showed it to Benjamin. He read it, then placed it on the table. He said, "I didn't know she sent this." I believed him, but the pain came back again. I said, "She still wants to be part of this." He said, "But I don't want her to be." I said, "But she already is." That night, I sat alone in the living room. I looked at our family photo. I saw the happy faces, the strong love we once had. I touched the frame. I whispered to myself, "What am I going to do?" I did not have an answer. Days passed. Nothing big happened. No fights. No big talks. But also no deep smiles. No real peace. We acted like a couple again. But inside me, the storm was still there. It was quiet, but it had not ended. One day, Benjamin came home with flowers. He gave them to me and said, "I know you don't trust me yet, but I'm not giving up." I took the flowers. I placed them in water. I said, "I don't know if I can ever trust you like before." He said, "I'll wait." I said, "What if I never do?" He said, "Then I will live with that." I went to bed early that night. I lay down next to him. I closed my eyes. I was tired of thinking, tired of feeling too much. I wanted to wake up and feel nothing, or feel love again, or at least feel sure, but I didn't. I just felt stuck. And that is where I still am, in the middle, between holding on and letting go, between pain and hope, between past and future. I don't know what will happen next, but I do know this. Sometimes love does not break in one loud moment. Sometimes it fades slowly, and you are left standing there, still married, still home, but lost. My name is Amelia. I am 26 years old. I live in a quiet town in Texas, in the United States. I work at a small clothing store in the center of town. My days were always the same. I woke up, made breakfast, went to work, and came home. I didn't have many friends. I didn't go out much. I spent most evenings watching TV or reading a book. One Saturday afternoon, I went to the shopping center. My cousin's birthday was coming, and I wanted to buy her something nice. I walked into a bookstore and started looking at the shelves. I saw a man standing near me, holding a book in his hand. He looked up and smiled. "Looking for something good?" he asked. I smiled back. Just a gift for my cousin. She likes to read. He held up the book. This one is not bad. I read it last month. He seemed friendly, so we talked for a few minutes. He told me his name was Ethan. He worked at an office not far from the store. He was funny and kind. His eyes were warm, and his voice was calm. Before I left, he said, "Can I give you my number? Maybe we can have coffee sometime." I was surprised, but I gave him my phone. He typed in his number and smiled again. "Text me if you want to meet," he said. That night, he sent a message. "It was nice to talk to you today." We started texting every day. A few days later, we met for coffee. It was nice. We sat at a small table outside the cafe. We talked about work, movies, music, and life. We both liked simple things, quiet places, old movies, and evening walks. I felt very comfortable with him. After that, we saw each other often. We met after work. Sometimes we had dinner. Sometimes we just walked around town. He listened to me, and he always made me laugh. He said I made him feel calm. He said he liked how real I was. After 2 months, we became a couple. I felt lucky. He called me every morning to say good morning. He sent goodnight messages. When I had a hard day at work, he came over with my favorite snack. When I was tired, he held my hand and let me rest. He made me feel safe. He made me feel loved. One day I asked, "Did you have a girlfriend before me?" He looked at me and smiled. "Yes, a long time ago, but it didn't work out." "Do you still talk to her?" I asked. "No," he said. "That's all in the past." I believed him. I didn't ask more questions. I trusted him. We kept spending time together. I started to imagine a future with him. I thought, maybe he's the one. But slowly, things began to change. He stopped calling every morning. He didn't ask how my day was. He still came to see me, but he looked tired. He was on his phone more. He didn't smile as much. One Friday night, he said he couldn't come. "Work is crazy," he said. "I need to stay late." I said, "Okay. Take care." But something didn't feel right. On Sunday afternoon, I was scrolling through social media. I stopped when I saw a photo. It was Ethan. He was at a cafe. He was not alone. A woman was sitting across from him. They were smiling. The post was from her page. Her name was Sophie. The words under the photo said, "So good to see you again. Just like old times." My hands were shaking. I read the post again. It was from yesterday. I felt sick. My heart was beating fast. He didn't tell me about this. He told me he was working. That night I couldn't sleep. I waited for him to call or message. He didn't. The next morning I sent a message. "How was your weekend?" He replied, "Busy. A lot of work." I waited, but he didn't say more, so I asked, Did you meet someone? There was a long pause. Then he wrote, Yes, I saw Sophie. Just for coffee. I read the message 3 times. I wanted to believe it meant nothing, but the photo showed something else. The way they looked at each other. It didn't feel like just coffee. I didn't reply. I needed time to think. The next day, I met him in the park. He looked nervous. I sat down on the bench. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. I didn't want to hurt you, he said. It was just one time. She asked to meet. Do you still love her? I asked. He looked away. I don't know, he said. That broke me. You told me it was over, I said. I thought it was, he said softly. But when I saw her, I felt something again. I didn't expect it. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I stood up. I don't want to be second, I said. If you still love her, then be with her. But don't lie to me. He didn't stop me. He didn't say anything else. I walked away. My eyes were full of tears. I didn't look back. That night, I sat on my bed and looked at my phone. I opened our old messages. I read the sweet things he used to say. I looked at our pictures. We looked so happy, but now I knew. He never really let go of her. I was just filling a space in his life. I cried until I fell asleep. In the morning, I didn't feel better. I felt empty. I didn't go to work. I just sat in the kitchen drinking cold coffee. My heart felt heavy. Later, I told my best friend what happened. She said, You did the right thing. You can't be with someone who still lives in the past. I agreed quietly, but it still hurt. Days passed. He didn't message me. I didn't message him either. I waited, hoping he would choose me, but he didn't. I learned something that week. Love should not feel like a question. If someone loves you, you should not have to fight for their heart. You should not have to wait for their decision. Ethan made his choice. He didn't say it in words, but his silence said everything. He loved his ex more. Before I go on, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The days after I walked away from Ethan felt long and quiet. I still woke up early. I still went to work. But everything felt different. I didn't smile at customers the way I used to. I didn't talk much with the girls at the store. I just wanted to go home and be alone. Everywhere I went, I saw something that reminded me of him. The coffee shop near my apartment. The park bench where we sat. Even the little shop where we first met. All these places felt cold now, empty. One night, I saw a couple walking hand in hand. The girl laughed and leaned on the man's shoulder. I turned away. I didn't want to see love. Not now. I thought I had that too. But it wasn't real. Not for him. I didn't hear from Ethan for almost 2 weeks. At first I waited. Every time my phone made a sound, I hoped it was him. But it never was. After some time, I stopped checking. I told myself not to care. But deep inside, I still did. Then one afternoon, I saw him. I was coming out of the grocery store. I was holding a small bag of fruit and bread. He was across the street. He was not alone. Sophie was with him. They were walking slowly. She was smiling. He was looking at her. They looked like a couple, not like two people meeting once, like two people who knew each other very well. I stopped walking. My heart started to beat fast. I didn't want to see this. I turned and walked the other way. I didn't want him to see me. I didn't want to feel small. When I got home, I sat on the floor. I didn't cry. I just felt tired. Tired of hoping. Tired of asking questions. Tired of feeling like I was not enough. That evening, my friend Layla came to see me. She brought pizza. We sat on my couch. I didn't want to talk about Ethan, but she asked, "Did he ever reach out?" She said. "No," I answered. But I saw him today. Her face changed. Was he alone? No. She was with him. Sophie. Layla stayed quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You deserve someone who chooses you fully, not someone who walks beside you while thinking of someone else." I nodded. Her words were true. I just didn't know how to feel better. After that, I tried to focus on myself. I started reading again. I listened to music I liked. I cleaned my apartment and threw away the things that reminded me of him. A gift bag, an old receipt, a photo on my phone. Little things. But they hurt. One morning, I was getting ready for work when I saw a message. It was from Ethan. "Can we talk?" I stared at the screen. My hand felt cold. I didn't answer right away. I thought for a long time. Then I typed back, "Why now?" He replied, "I need to see you. Just once." I didn't know if I should say yes, but part of me still wanted answers. We met in a small park near his office. It was late afternoon. The sun was low and the sky was orange. He was already there, sitting on a bench. I walked over. He stood up. "Hi," he said. "Hi," I said back. We sat down. There was a short silence. "I'm sorry," he said. "I hurt you." I didn't say anything. He looked down. "I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted." "You knew," I said. "You just didn't want to lose both of us." He nodded slowly. "Maybe that's true. I didn't handle it right." I looked at him. "So, are you with her now?" "Yes," he said. "But I think about you." I shook my head. "That doesn't help me." He looked sad. "I miss you, Amelia. You were good to me. better than I deserved. I stood up. I didn't want to hear more. You miss me, I said. But you didn't choose me. He stood too. I was scared. With her, I knew what to expect. But with you, it felt too real, too deep. I didn't cry. Not this time. I just looked at him. You can't come back now, I said. I'm not the same girl anymore. He didn't stop me as I walked away. Again. This time, it felt different. It still hurt, but I felt stronger. I knew I deserved more. In the weeks that followed, I started to feel lighter. I went to work with a little more energy. I even went out with Layla and her friends one Friday night. I laughed for the first time in weeks. Life was not perfect, but it was moving. Sometimes I still thought about Ethan. I thought about our walks, our talks, the little moments. But now, I also thought about how he made me feel unsure, how he didn't fight for me. And when I remembered that, I knew I made the right choice. I wasn't his second option. I was someone who wanted real love, honest love, full love. And one day, I believed I would find it. Weeks passed. The cold days slowly turned warm. Spring was coming. The trees near my apartment had small flowers again. People in town smiled more. But inside me, the pain was still there, just smaller than before. I no longer waited for messages from Ethan. I no longer checked his page. I told myself, if he wanted to stay, he would have. That thought helped me feel strong. At work, things got better. I smiled more. I spoke with the other girls. I helped customers with real care. I wasn't just working to forget someone. I was working for myself now. One morning, I arrived early at the store. I stood by the window and looked out at the street. I watched people pass. I saw an old couple walking hand in hand. Their steps were slow, but their smiles were real. I thought, that's the kind of love I want. The kind that stays. After work, I went to a new cafe with Layla. It had soft music and warm lights. We sat near the window and talked for a long time. She asked, "How do you feel now?" I said, "I feel better. Not perfect, but better." She smiled. "You look better too. You look like Amelia again." That evening, I walked home alone. But I didn't feel lonely. I felt calm. My chest didn't feel heavy like before. A few days later, I got a call from an old friend named Harper. She used to live in the same town but moved away for work. She said she was visiting for a week and wanted to meet. We met at the park. We sat on the grass and talked like we used to. I told her everything about Ethan. She listened and then said something simple. "You didn't lose anything. He did." Her words stayed in my mind for days. Maybe she was right. One Sunday, I cleaned my apartment from top to bottom. I washed the curtains. I changed the bed sheets. I even moved the sofa to clean under it. I wanted everything to feel fresh, new, clean. That night, I stood in the middle of my room. I looked around. I took a deep breath. It was quiet, but it didn't feel sad. It felt like peace. The next weekend, I went to a small event in town. It was a local market with music and food. I walked around, looked at handmade things, and tasted fresh lemonade. I saw familiar faces. I smiled. I wasn't hiding anymore. At one of the stalls, a man was selling small plants. I looked at a little green one in a round pot. "You like plants?" he asked. I looked up. The man had a soft smile. "Yes," I said, "but I always forget to water them." He laughed. "This one's strong. It can wait for you." We talked for a few minutes. His name was Ben. He lived one town over and grew plants in his garden. He was quiet, but kind. When I walked away with my new plant, he said, "I hope it lives a long life." I smiled. "Me too." It was a short meeting, but it felt nice. Just simple and kind. That night, I placed the small plant on my window table. I looked at it and thought, maybe I can take care of something again. Days turned into weeks. One afternoon, I saw Ethan again. I was walking home from the store. He was across the street, alone. He saw me. I saw him. He gave a small wave. I nodded, then looked away. I didn't stop. I didn't feel pain. I just felt done. He had his chance. He made his choice. And so did I. Back at home, I made tea and sat near the window. The plant was still there, green and growing. It made me smile. I thought about everything that happened. I thought about how I loved him, how I hoped he would love me too, how I gave my heart and waited for him to choose me. But in the end, I chose myself. I learned that love is not just about warm words or soft looks. Love is about action, about staying, about truth. He didn't choose me, and that truth saved me. It hurt at first, but now I was free. I didn't need to forget him. I only needed to remember myself. The girl who smiled at small things. The girl who helped others. The girl who wanted love that stayed. She was still here. And now she was ready for something real. Maybe one day I would meet someone who truly saw me. Someone who didn't look back. Someone who would stand beside me with both feet in. Until then, I had myself. And that was more than enough. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon.